I see this as a betrayal. Lisa's voice was icy. So were her eyes. She stared at me from behind that oversized walnut desk, the kind that swallowed half the room, as if the furniture alone could remind you who was in charge. After everything Summit has done for you, Maya, I sat across from her, fingers tightening around my bag strap. Inside my palm, I quietly closed the silver pocket watch, a gift from my late father. Engraved on the back, "Time is yours. Don't waste it." The shock was still sitting heavy in my chest. I had barely stepped into the office that morning when I was summoned upstairs. No warning, no calendar invite, no agenda. Just a single-line message from the assistant. "Lisa wants to see you." Now. "Lisa." "I don't." She cut me off. Her red polished nails tapped slowly on a printed sheet, each tap landing like a warning shot. "I've confirmed it. You interviewed at Orion Strategies this past Monday, and you took half a day off claiming a stomach checkup, right? My name is Maya Bennett. I'm 30 years old, and I've given 10 years of my life to Summit Creative Media in Austin. In that decade, I tripled our client list, generated millions in revenue, and earned the trust of nearly every major account. But none of that seemed to matter anymore. Security will meet you at your desk. You can collect your personal items. All company files and data on your work device must remain intact. Lisa slid my ID badge across the table without looking up. "I've changed your company email password and locked your access to the internal systems." My chest burned, not from shame, but from the all-too-familiar sting of being dismissed while still trying to hold your dignity together. 5 years. 5 years in a row. I walked into this same office with spotless slides, clear performance metrics, market benchmarks, salary raise proposals. And 5 times I got the same answer. Budget's tight. Meanwhile, Lisa was announcing record profits each quarter, expanding office space and swapping SUVs like seasonal handbags. I took a deep breath, stood up, adjusted my collar, understood. Lisa paused. Maybe she expected me to cry or beg, but I just extended my hand across the desk, still holding the watch. "I wish you and Summit continued success." She shook my hand, brief, hollow, perfunctory, just like our relationship had always been. A handshake out of formality, and I was the one who let go first. Lisa thought she had solved a problem today. What she really did was trigger something she couldn't begin to imagine. Lisa hesitated for a second before shaking my hand. Quick, dismissive, like checking off a box on a form. And in her eyes, something flickered. Uncertainty. Maybe she hadn't expected me to stay this calm. When I returned to my desk, security was already there, standing slightly off to the side, eyes fixed on the floor. I started packing family photos, a tiny desk plant, 10 years of my life, into a cardboard box. A whole chapter, boxed up in less than 3 minutes. Colleagues passed by. Some glanced over, unsure what to say. I offered a soft smile, as if to say, "I'm okay." No tears, no scenes, just silence, the kind that comes from knowing your worth. I stepped out of the glass building, into the April sun. Warm light spilled over my shoulders, mockingly gentle. Lisa thought she'd taught me a lesson, but what she really did was hand me an opening. I placed the box in the trunk. Then my phone buzzed. A message lit up the screen. "David Clean? Orion Strategies, Maya. Would it be possible to move our meeting to 2 p.m. today?" I let out a quiet laugh. Lisa had no idea what was coming for her. Strange, isn't it? How 10 years of your life can fit into a single box, and one message can change everything. I started the car, backed out of the parking lot. In the rearview mirror, Summit faded behind me. On the passenger seat, the silver pocket watch rested next to the box. I picked it up, opened the lid. "Time is yours. Don't waste it." The engraving caught the morning light, and my father's voice echoed in my mind. Steady, warm, unshakable. I had joined Summit right out of college, a fresh marketing grad from Texas State. Brewed coffee, took meeting notes, filed documents. Whatever needed doing, I did it. No complaints, no clock watching. I took on the clients no one wanted, handled the projects everyone avoided. By year 2, I was managing mid-tier accounts. By year 4, I was handpicked to lead the Orion Strategies account. A turning point. David Clean, the CEO himself, had asked for me directly after a major mishap caused by my predecessor. "You're the only one who understands what we need," before we even say it. I never forgot those words. And today I knew I couldn't afford to waste a single second more. After that incident, the relationship between Summit and Orion only grew stronger. Not only did Orion renew the contract, they doubled their marketing budget. Lisa called me into her office, eyes gleaming like she was the one who made it happen. "This is the kind of initiative the company values," she said, lifting a sleek ceramic coffee cup like a trophy. But that so-called appreciation never showed up on my paycheck. I submitted a raise proposal right after. Attached were performance metrics, growth reports, market benchmarks. Undeniable. "Budget won't allow it," Lisa replied, her voice flat, like it had been rehearsed. "But the company sees your effort." I said nothing, no protest. The economy was still shaky, and I was still building my track record. The following year, I brought in 3 major clients, led a campaign that won an industry award. The response? Unchanged. "Let's revisit it next year," Lisa smiled, crossing her legs, her skirt crisp and flawless. "We just need to tighten things up a little longer." Meanwhile, she pulled into work every morning in a brand new SUV. The office added a whole new floor. The coffee machine upgraded to a cold brew grinder. And me? I stayed because I believed loyalty would eventually be rewarded. The third rejection came after a milestone. I had just renegotiated Orion's contract, increasing its value by 40%, a number big enough to get the entire finance team on their feet, clapping. "Your performance is truly impressive," Lisa said, glancing at her Rolex. "But this year, our focus is infrastructure. Maybe we can revisit this in the summer." I nodded, but something inside me cracked. That night, I came home, opened my laptop, and placed my father's silver pocket watch beside the keyboard as I always did. Its hands kept ticking, as if whispering, "Time is yours. Don't waste it." I opened LinkedIn. A new message lit up. "Rachel Harper, strategic partner at Orion, a former client of mine for 3 straight years at Summit. Maya, I've always admired your professionalism. I know Orion will see that too." Rachel was a close friend of David Kleen, CEO of Orion. I had met them both at a networking event last year. I remember Lisa cutting into our conversation, laughing too loudly, flashing her new watch like it was a symbol of power. David had subtly furrowed his brow. Rachel gently set her wine glass down and changed the subject. I looked back at my screen, my profile. Outdated descriptions. I started editing every line, every skill, every project, not out of spite, not for revenge, but because I knew my father wouldn't want me wasting time on people who didn't deserve it. I hit save changes, and then I sat there, waiting for something to begin. I deserved more than empty promises that never turned into anything real. What I didn't expect was Lisa finding out I was job hunting before I even had a chance to submit my resignation. That night, I set the cardboard box on my kitchen counter and just stood there. Still, this wasn't a break. It wasn't a pause. I no longer worked at Summit, and that truth, it pressed on my chest like an invisible hand. Slow and suffocating. I sat down. The overhead light cast a pale glow onto the cold steel surface. Then the phone rang. "Olivia." "I just heard," she said, skipping hello. "Thomas texted me." "Are you okay?" Thomas was in IT, also her boyfriend. And like always, rumors outran the facts. "I'm still processing," I admitted. "It all happened so fast." "And it's crap," she snapped. "Everyone knows you're the reason Orion's still with Summit." She paused. "Lisa's just scared. Because you're better than she is." I didn't argue because maybe she wasn't wrong. Lisa had been a star in the client service department. She never really gave up the spotlight, still inserted herself into Orion meetings, even when no one asked her to. But the worst part, I said quietly, was how she did it. Like I betrayed the company just because I dared to look for a place that might actually value me. "She's going to regret it," Olivia said. "Honestly, this might be the best thing to ever happen to you." I looked up. The silver pocket watch sat open on the counter, its face catching the warm kitchen light. The inscription inside still clear. "Time is yours. Don't waste it." I wrapped my fingers around the watch, like holding on to a voice from the past. And I knew I wasn't done. The phone buzzed again. An email. "Orion. Maya, we were impressed with your CV and interview, but due to the circumstances of your termination, we're concerned about potential tension with Summit. We hope you understand." I stared at the screen. A wave of disappointment rolled in. But it wasn't enough to knock me down. I glanced at the watch. The hands were still moving. I stepped outside, grabbed a latte from the Starbucks down the street, and found a seat by the window. Inside, people typed quietly, white AirPods glowing under overhead lights. I opened my laptop, started mapping out my next moves, bullet by bullet, name by name, goal by goal. Then the phone buzzed again. A message. From Sam. Lisa pressured me, Maya. She said she'd cut my bonus if I didn't report your interview. I'm so sorry. I stared at it. Didn't respond. Not yet, maybe, not ever. I turned back to the screen, pulled up my CV, added a few new bullet points, and typed a fresh line. I wasn't fired, I was set free. My phone rang. David Clean. Olivia, it's Orion, I said, stepping toward the window. Take it, she replied, half whispering. Call me right after. I answered. Maya, David said, his voice steady. I just got off the phone with Rachel Harper. My heart paused. Rachel, she said, you're the most professional person she's worked with. You didn't leave because of drama. You left because Summit didn't know how to hold on to great people. He paused. I believe her. And to be honest, your CV and interview already convinced us. Then came the part I didn't expect. Summit's been slow, disorganized. Lisa interrupted key meetings. We've wasted time we can't afford to waste. You're exactly the kind of leadership we need in this new chapter. I know we sent a rejection email this morning, but after speaking with the board, we realized we can't let Summit's mistakes stop us from doing what's right. Can you meet me at 2 p.m. today? I took a deep breath. Yes, I'll be there. And Maya, don't let what happened this morning linger. Sometimes closed doors lead us exactly where we're meant to be. He hung up. Sunlight poured through the kitchen window, glinting off the silver pocket watch on the counter. I stared at my reflection. No longer the woman who got fired, but someone finally set free. I headed to the bathroom, washed my hair, put on the navy blue suit I always saved for the big pitch days. While applying lipstick, a quiet calm washed over me, like the kind that comes after a storm has said its last word. I opened the drawer, reached for the pocket watch. The silver caught the light. Inside, the words gleamed as if brand new. Time is yours. Don't waste it. Lisa thought she'd won, but all she did was push me toward the light. What she said still stung, but the pain was already dissolving, like early morning fog. Summit took my loyalty, my creativity, hundreds of hours of unpaid overtime, and left me with locked doors and an empty hallway. Never again. I won't give myself away to a place that doesn't see my worth. Orion Strategy sat atop a glass tower downtown, the top 3 floors sunlit and alive. No beige walls, no dim yellow lights, no frayed chairs with arms barely holding together. Here, white walls, open spaces, glass-walled meeting rooms, a ping-pong table in the lounge. A guy in a hoodie walked past holding a Starbucks. Laughter spilled from the team recapping last night's food truck happy hour. And I thought, Dad would have liked this place. I stepped into the elevator, pressed 30, whispered a few lines to myself, calm, precise. I'd need to explain why I was suddenly available, but without a trace of bitterness. A slammed door may close one chapter, but the next door, how I walk through it, that's on me. I reminded myself, no matter how awkward this might get, professionalism comes first. The elevator opened. David Clean was already waiting at reception. Maya, he smiled, reaching out for a handshake. Thanks for coming on such short notice. Thank you for making time, I replied, gripping his hand firmly. Today's one for the books. David was in his 50s, salt and pepper hair. The calm presence of someone used to making big decisions without losing his kindness. We walked past Orion's open workspace. Someone was playing ping pong. Another sipped Starbucks, nodding at me in welcome. The place felt alive, free, modern. The polar opposite of Summit's faux corporate chill. David's office wasn't flashy, but it was warm. The seating was arranged for conversation, not confrontation. Coffee? Yes, please. We settled in, steam rising from our cups. David got straight to it. Lisa called me this morning, he said. She informed me that Maya Bennett would no longer be handling the Orion account, and that she'd be stepping in herself. I nodded. Neutral. Of course she would. That account was her last card to play. But what Lisa doesn't know is... David paused. We'd already started questioning our relationship with Summit. I looked at him, surprised. Even though our last campaign hit 123% of KPI? Because of you, he replied, without hesitation. Only you. Your work was timely, on-brand, data-driven. But everything else? Delays, technical errors, and frankly, disengagement. He leaned in, voice lowered. Remember that Zoom call 3 months ago? When Lisa interrupted just to show off her new watch? I remembered. David didn't say anything at the time, but I saw the shift in his eyes. After that, the board suggested we explore new partners, he continued. We kept things steady to avoid disruption. But then, your CV came in. He set down his coffee. The strategy you laid out in your interview, the way you presented data, how you mapped the direction for each target group, you won the entire team. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't here to be rescued. I was here because I earned it. Not because they felt sorry for me, but because they saw my value. Orion had already started to question Summit, and I was ready to become part of something better. I tried to keep working with Summit, David said, only because of you. You always understood our brand and what we actually needed in a way most agencies never could. My heart skipped. Was he saying what I thought he was? When you reached out about the opportunity at Orion, he continued, the timing couldn't have been better. He paused, then his tone shifted, calm but firm. But I want to be clear about something. We never intended to poach you. We respect professional boundaries. We were prepared to wait until you were ready to resign, on your own terms. I was planning to give 2 weeks' notice, I said. I needed him to know. I had a plan. I didn't act out of impulse. David nodded, smiled, and that's why we're here today. Your professionalism is what makes you stand out. He opened the folder on the table, slid one sheet toward me. This isn't an interview, Maya. It's an offer. Title, Director of Client Strategy. You'll be leading the team that manages all our agency partnerships, internal and external. I looked down at the page. My eyes froze on the final line. The salary. Nearly double what I was making at Summit, and higher than I ever dared to ask for. This is generous, I said, steadying my voice. It's market rate, David replied, for someone with your track record. Sometimes you have to walk away from a place to finally see your worth. That night, I placed the signed offer letter on my kitchen counter, right next to my father's silver pocket watch, glinting under the warm kitchen light. I picked it up, ran my thumb over the inscription. Time is yours. Don't waste it. He'd be proud. Outside my apartment window, the sunset over the Colorado River lit up Orion's rooftop balcony. Someone was playing ping pong. Another walked by with a Starbucks, laughing with a teammate. No one here had to fake being positive all the time. They just had to be real. I smiled, not because I was given a chance, but because, for the first time in years, I was chosen. For exactly who I am. Even though the answer was obvious, I gave myself the rest of the afternoon to think. Not out of doubt, but because that's how I've always operated, professionally, even when the decision was already made. I sat alone in my usual Starbucks, latte still steaming, laptop open but untouched. Around me, people typed, zoomed, tweaked slides, just like I used to at Summit. But today, that wasn't my world anymore. A notification lit up on my phone. A message from Jessica. Lisa just posted on LinkedIn. Picture of an empty chair in the boardroom. Caption, loyalty is the foundation of Summit. Not everyone understands that. I gripped my coffee. She was rewriting the story, turning me into the traitor and Orion into the manipulated fool. I opened the silver pocket watch sitting next to my laptop. Ran my finger over the engraving. Time is yours. Don't waste it, I whispered to myself. Dad would never waste time on blame games. Another message popped up. Thomas, she called an emergency meeting after you left. Told the room you were fired for violating loyalty. But honestly, everyone saw her hands shaking when Orion came up. Jessica followed up with one more line. She's been locked in her office all afternoon, on the phone nonstop. I think they're actually worried. I didn't respond. I wasn't here to get dragged back into old drama. All I saw now, with more clarity than ever, was that I'd made the right decision. My phone rang again. Unknown number. I picked up. Maya Bennett? Yes, speaking. This is Carolyn Blake from the Board of Directors at Summit Creative Media. I straightened up. Board members don't call ex-employees. Not unless something big is happening. I'm aware of what took place this morning, she continued, her voice low, composed. I'd like to meet with you tomorrow. It's possible. Lisa acted prematurely. I paused. Lisa had pushed me out on her own, and now that Orion might be reconsidering the partnership, They were calling me back. Not out of concern, but out of damage control. I appreciate the invitation, Mrs. Blake, but I've accepted another position. She hesitated. May I ask where? I looked out the window. Golden hour was washing over Austin's glass skyline. I don't think this is the right time to say. The silence on the line stretched, longer now, thicker. And I knew that meeting tomorrow wouldn't be about saving me, it would be about saving them. If this is about compensation, Carolyn Blake said over the phone, we're open to revisiting it. The board recognizes your significant contributions to Summit. I almost laughed. 3 years, 3 formal requests for a raise, each one backed by market data, performance metrics, and documented results, and 3 silent rejections. No counteroffer, not even a promise. But now, suddenly, they recognize me? It's not just about the money, I said, my voice even. It's about respect, about being seen. Before someone has to walk away to be acknowledged. She paused. Then, let's meet in person. 9 a.m. tomorrow. I want to hear more, directly from you. I sat with that for a moment. I had no plans to return, but I also didn't want to end this story in silence. A final conversation, to close the chapter with dignity, felt necessary. All right, I'll come. But to be clear, I've already signed with another company. I'm not coming to negotiate a return. Understood, she replied. Though her tone said she wasn't entirely convinced. I hung up. Set my phone next to the silver pocket watch. Opened it. Time is yours. Don't waste it. I whispered, not for places that demand loyalty, but forget how to return it. That night, I messaged Jessica. Thank you for the late-night coffee drops, for being kind in a place that only pretended to be. She responded immediately. Everyone knew what happened to you was wrong. You were the best of us, Maya. I clutched the watch. Dad wouldn't want me to walk back into a place that once failed to see me. The elevator at Summit smelled like her perfume. I signed in at the front desk. Jessica smiled when she saw me. You're here to see Mrs. Blake, right? Yeah. Feels strange, like stepping into an older version of yourself. She leaned in, lowered her voice. After you left, Lisa told everyone to smile more during meetings. And she's been flashing a brand new Rolex. I gave a small smile. Classic Summit, more invested in appearances than actual kindness. On the way to the boardroom, my phone buzzed. LinkedIn notification. Sarah Lynn, Director of Strategy at Orion. We'd never met, but her reputation preceded her. I trust reputation more than words. A comment dropped on my job announcement. It wasn't direct, but I got the message. I turned off my screen. I wouldn't let a stray comment shake me. The boardroom door opened. I took a deep breath. I wasn't there to return. I was there to close this, the right way. I chose the navy blue suit, not to impress, but to remind myself I wasn't here to apologize. I was here to close the chapter. The Summit lobby was as busy as ever. People rushed past me, not one of them recognizing the woman who'd sat on the 11th floor for a decade. I signed the visitor log, my fingers tightening around the silver pocket watch in my coat. Time is yours. Don't waste it. That engraving had never felt so clear. I stepped into the boardroom. Carolyn Blake was already waiting. Early 60s. Short silver hair, a posture shaped by decades of million-dollar decisions made before sunrise. Thank you for coming, Miss Bennett. She stood and offered her hand. Please, have a seat. I glanced around. No Lisa. And when Carolyn quietly shut the door, I knew this conversation was for 2 women and one truth that needed to be said. I've reviewed your file, she began, opening a slim folder. 10 years. Consistently exceeding expectations. 3 formal requests for a raise, all denied. She looked up. None of that ever reached the board. I said nothing. Standard adjustments are usually handled at the management level, she continued, voice tightening. Lisa made a lot of autonomous decisions. Yes, I'm aware. She flipped another page, then pulled the file back toward her. What I don't see here is any documentation justifying your termination yesterday. We have no policy against interviewing elsewhere. Nothing in writing labels that as disloyalty. I held my composure. But that's the word she used. Carolyn raised an eyebrow. An interesting word choice, especially in this context. Then she closed the folder. Direct. No spin. The board would like you to return. Title, Senior Director of Client Services. Salary, your requested number from last year plus 10%. I listened, but there was no part of me left to sway. 3 years of silence, one public humiliation. And now, this belated invitation. I thought of all the late nights, Jessica sneaking me lattes while I hunched over client decks. I once longed for recognition from this place. Now I saw it clearly. I had already outgrown it. I tightened my grip on the watch. No more waiting for what should have come freely. I looked at Carolyn, calm, clear, and I knew the words I was about to say would be the final ones. "This is a generous offer," I said, my voice steady, respectful. "But as I mentioned before, I've already accepted another position." "Orion Strategies," Carolyn Blake replied. Not a question, just a statement. I didn't nod, didn't confirm. Professional boundaries, always intact. "The role starts Monday," I said simply. She studied me for a long beat, her expression unreadable. "Lisa's concerned," she finally said, "that Orion might reconsider their partnership with Summit." And that's when it clicked. This meeting wasn't about regret. It was about fear. Fear of losing a contract. "That's a question for Orion," I replied. She nodded, as if acknowledging my clarity. "May I ask just one last thing?" I waited. "What could Summit have done differently to keep you?" I stayed quiet, not because I didn't know, but because it was the question I had once longed to be asked, for far too long. "Recognize my value," I said, before I had to walk away to find it elsewhere. I met her gaze. "Loyalty goes both ways, Miss Blake. Summit demanded full commitment, but never once showed that I was worth investing in. That imbalance, it was never going to hold." She nodded slowly, a fair assessment. She stood, extending her hand. "Thank you for your honesty. I wish you the very best." I shook her hand. This time I was the one who let go first. Leaving Summit again, but this time for good. I took nothing with me, except a calm I hadn't felt in years. I wasn't walking away to escape. I was walking away to rewrite the ending on my own terms. The city of Austin stretched before me as I drove home. On the radio, a slow country song hummed through the speakers, something familiar, nostalgic. I turned the volume down, just enough to hear myself think. My phone buzzed. A message from Sam. "I messed up, Maya." Lisa pressured me. I didn't know what else to do. "But I really am sorry." I stopped at a red light. The sunset spilled across my windshield. I typed slowly, deliberately. "I need time, Sam. No anger, but no easy forgiveness either. Some wounds don't tear, they settle, quiet, lingering." I reached into my coat and pulled out the pocket watch, flipped it open. The hand still moved. "Time is yours, don't waste it." Dad's voice echoed through my mind. Closing the chapter on Summit, not with bitterness, but with a choice. Monday, I'd walk into Orion's office with a new title, a new team, a new chapter. And this time, I wasn't sitting at the table because I was allowed to. I was there because I had earned it. David had everything ready for my first day. A welcome gift basket, pre-installed equipment, and a handwritten note. "Welcome, Maya. Time is yours." At 9 a.m., he appeared at my door. "Let me introduce you to the team," he smiled. 5 marketing specialists were already seated in the conference room. Team I would now lead. Together, we'd shape Orion's relationships with every external agency. I looked at them, then at myself. From someone pushed aside for simply asking to be seen, I was now the one deciding who gets the chance to be seen. "This is Maya Bennett, our new director of client strategy," David said. "Some of you may know her work from Summit Creative Media. She's the mind behind some of their strongest campaigns. We're lucky to have her here." The kickoff meeting ended quickly. Brief, focused, efficient, typical Orion style. David then led me to a larger boardroom. A few senior executives were waiting inside. The air was serious. "Before you officially begin," David said, "we'd like your thoughts on something important." The CFO looked at me over his glasses. "We're reevaluating our relationship with Summit. The contract ends next month." The head of marketing added, "You know both sides. You manage the account. We need insight from someone who's seen it firsthand." Before I could speak, Sarah, the sharpest voice in the room, leaned forward. Her blazer was a deep navy. So were her eyes. "There's a rumor on LinkedIn," she said, "that you orchestrated Orion's shift from Summit. If you want to prove your loyalty, it would be fair to tell us how Summit managed to retain Orion for 3 years." The room went quiet. Every eye turned to me. I reached into my coat pocket, felt the cool edge of my father's pocket watch. "Time is yours. Don't waste it." His voice echoed in my mind. I stood up, calm, steady, Clear. I transferred all Summit-related files through the proper channels, I said. I'm not here to play dirty to prove I belong. My resume already did that. Sarah arched one brow. David nodded slowly. That's exactly why you're sitting here, he said. I took my seat, said nothing more. Because I knew. I had made the right choice, not just for the role, but for the one thing I refused to trade away. My dignity. And sometimes, standing tall in the face of doubt is the loudest proof that you belong. I think we should evaluate Summit like any other vendor, I said. My tone steady. They've been effective, but consistency and account management needs closer scrutiny. David nodded, then moved on. No one brought up Summit again. They didn't need to. 11 a.m. Wednesday. The email went out. It wasn't revenge. It was timing. Orion's leadership had just wrapped its review after comparing proposals from 3 new agencies. David offered to show me the draft. I read it, then asked to recuse myself from the final decision. Not because I feared being accused of bias, but because I didn't need to win that way. The message was crisp, professional, devoid of emotion. After a thorough evaluation of our upcoming brand direction and digital strategy, Orion Strategies has selected a new agency partner, Meridian Creative. The transition is effective immediately. Maya Bennett, Director of Client Strategy, will lead the process to ensure a smooth handoff. I could already picture Lisa reading it, the slight shake in her hand, the jolt of the opening line, the hit in the third sentence, and the final blow. A reminder that the woman she dismissed was now leading the change. My phone buzzed. Jessica. Lisa's been in back-to-back crisis meetings all morning. Sales floor is in chaos. Some think you wrote the email. I didn't correct them. I just thought Summit had it coming. Then another message came in. From Sarah, the one who questioned my integrity on day 1. I was wrong to doubt you. Thanks for holding the line. Looking forward to learning from you on future projects. And then, a LinkedIn message from Rachel Harper. Congrats, Maya. I always knew you'd thrive at Orion. Summit lost a gem. We didn't. I leaned back. Afternoon light spilled across the office floor. Someone walked by with a Starbucks in hand. A teammate typed away, AirPods in. I opened my pocket watch. The hands ticked on. The engraving still clear as day. Time is yours. This time, I was using my time to build, not to fix. I didn't need to destroy Summit. I didn't need a snarky LinkedIn post. Didn't need to name names. Because the truth spreads on its own. And this time, I wasn't the one telling it. That afternoon, I got a connection request from Jessica, with one simple message. The office is a mess. Lisa's been in crisis meetings all day. 3 client managers updating their resumes. Karma came fast. I didn't reply right away. I didn't feel triumphant. I just felt light. I stepped onto the balcony of my new office. Cold brew in hand. Austin sunlight cutting through the glass like a quiet anthem. Below me, a few coworkers were laughing over ping pong. A breeze lifted the edge of my jacket. And for the first time in a long time, peace. I opened the silver pocket watch, the only thing I brought from the old job. The second hand ticked on. The engraving caught the light. Time is yours. Don't waste it. I smiled. Thanks, Dad, I whispered. I'm finally using it right. Another connection request popped up. Sam, the one who stayed silent when I needed him most. I accepted and typed just 4 words. Wishing you the best. No resentment. No forgiveness, just closure. I stepped back inside, signed off on the new client rollout, a plan my team at Orion had just finalized. Clean, direct, just like the way I left Summit. No drama, no begging, no compromise. I used to think revenge meant making people regret, but now I know. The sweetest kind of justice is living a life they no longer get to define. Not everyone walks away because they've lost. Some, like Maya, walk away because they've finally remembered what they're worth. How about you? Have you ever been overlooked in a place that should have seen your value? Did Maya's story touch something in you? Whether you're in Austin, Chicago, or a small town somewhere in America, your worth isn't where you're ignored. It's where you're seen. If you're on your own journey back to yourself, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Thanks for staying until the end. Cozy Heart Stories, where even the quietest voices get heard.